Good morning and Mazel Tov. We did it. We finished our first Maamar. Woo woo! Very, very, very big deal, very big accomplishment, and we should be very proud of ourselves. So, a great amount of work that we all put in, especially whoever got up early or whoever made sure to make time to listen to it after. Really, really, really a big deal. And how much more so, it's a huge deal because this Maamar was given over at a Yud Aleph Nissen for Bringen, which is the Rebbe's birthday, and today is Yud Aleph Nissen. So how amazing that we get to finish and we get to Farbring in honor of the Rebbe's birthday, about the Farbring given on the Rebbe's birthday. So yay! Good job, everybody. Okay, so I wanted to first do a bit of talking, and then afterwards, I wanted to hear your thoughts on the Maamar, and I guess we can stop the recording for that, second part. So I wanted to do a general run through to make sure we know we got it, and then I wanted to touch on the topics that I feel like were really, really practical and really clear, how it's really practical, and from there we can. I want to make sure that everybody has like really practical takeaways, because as it says in the Hayamim Prabhav Teves, that every single thing in Chassidus, even the most spiritual and lofty concepts, need to have a practical avodah in our lives, which means that just because it's lofty and high and mighty and blah blah blah, it doesn't mean that we're putter for just like, okay, whatever, just say Atzilus, and no Atzilus and move on. Every single thing in Chassidus has a practical and relevant message for us, that we can change our lives, and we can really affect our actions, our mindset, our everything. And so too with this Maamar. So this Maamar discusses a few different topics. I'm not going to do it in order, but it discusses a few different topics. One of them is the whole concept of living with Mitzrayim, and what is it, when is it, what is it, what does that even mean? So the first concept that we go through is when. So we ask a question about when. Does it mean every day? Sorry, doesn't mean every year, because halachically we are meant to every single year, which is coming up. Guys, get pumped. Pesach is coming. Which, by the way, I want to point out that many years in my life when I was younger, I spent many years dreading the fact that Pesach was coming. And only because I learned Chassidus on a regular basis, and only because I started appreciating the inner depth, I started taking time to really look at my Haggadah and saying, wow, this is actually very cool. So only because of that, now I have a really amazing excitement for Pesach. So I wish that everybody should have an excitement for Pesach and not get stuck in the quote-unquote galus of cleaning and preparing your kitchen to be kashered. Okay, so every single year we're supposed to celebrate and we're supposed to relive. Actually, it's as if we ourselves are leaving Mitzrayim. So we're supposed to relive, and halachically it's meant to be on the 15th of Nisan. Technically, it's kind of starting on the 14th, when we used to go to the Beis HaMikdash and we would offer the Karban Pesach and then eat it on the 15th. But the Alter Rebbe adds in Tanya a twist, so to speak, and he says not just every single generation, every single year, but every single day, which means we must have a lesson to be learned every single day, because we don't actually burn the Karban Pesach and we don't actually have matzah and mar in front of us every single day. So we learn a really, really beautiful thing from Mishnah and Brachos, that not just, and it's funny because for everybody who did their Shabbos Haggadah reading yesterday, we actually discuss it in the Haggadah. This whole idea that all the days means, when it says, so that you shall remember the day you left the land of Egypt, all the days of your life. So the days refers to the daytime, and all means also the nighttime. And not only that, but another interpretation is that all that days refers to the present era. Now we're in our times, and all the days of your life includes also the times of Mashiach, which means that we're actually celebrating now, and we're still going to celebrate when Mashiach comes. we also realized that the when of Pesach, we have to understand before we even get, and this is a good thing to learn about Chassidus, that Chassidus starts with a question, but then most of the time it says, one second, in order to even understand this, we have to get to the real basics. So what are the real basics? Here we're talking about living with Mitzrayim. What does Mitzrayim even mean? So I think we discussed and we ringed about this a lot in the classes, that we have to find our personal Mitzrayim, which the word Mitzrayim has a connection, etymological connection to the word Meitzarim, boundaries and limitations, which means there must be something in our lives. Yossi Jacobson always says, present company excluded. I'm sure everybody here is perfect and have no other negative whatevers, but there must be something in our lives that we tell ourselves, I can't do this. Oh, I can't, or this is too hard for me, or I'm not that type of person. I remember two friends that I have. One of my favorite stories is of how these two roommates would encourage each other to go on Mivtzayim Erev Shabbos, because one roommate would want to go Mivtzayim and the other roommate likes being outside. So even though she may not have considered herself somebody that goes on Mivtzayim per se, but because she was going out with her roommate, so then they used to go and enjoy Mivtzayim together. And I love that story so much, because because I don't consider myself somebody who does Mivtzayim per se, I still can do something beautiful and I can push myself beyond my limitations in my own way. And for example, for us, it was going out on Sunday Fun Day. My husband used to bring tefillin, and we actually were one time in Manhattan. And out of the blue, these two guys came over to us and said, hey, you're a Lubavitcher. You must have tefillin. Can I please put on tefillin? And it was just so amazing that we were just walking around doing our own thing. But again, the whole point is to not limit ourselves by the things we think we can't do, or the things it's not my style. It's not my style to do this. It's not my style to do that. To push ourselves beyond our limitations. We also discussed the three time periods, which the second one has two aspects to it, but 3 time periods that we celebrate or we commemorate or whatever, Yetzias Mitzrayim. The first one is the original Yetzias Mitzrayim. We actually left Mitzrayim, Mazel Tov. The second one is the fact that now we do it every single year. We celebrate it every single year, and we have matzah and maror in front of us at the table, and also the fact that we do it every single day. And there's a question about what in the pasuk it says ba'avur zeh, because of this, and it's as if we're literally pointing or holding the matzah and maror, and we don't have matzah and maror every single day in our tables. So therefore, Chassidus explains that it's every that there's a spiritual aspect. It's not just the physical matzah and maror, but the spiritual aspect of matzah and maror. We also discussed the fact that it's the times of Mashiach, and we explained beautifully, very much in depth, how when Mashiach comes, we'll be able to see the essence of how the Eibusher really creates everything, and so therefore we'll have clarity. There won't be any confusion about what's, if something is bad, if it's the bad entity is coming to us. No, this is the Hashem's Chesed, and the Hashem's Chesed happens to show up in this uncomfortable way. We also discussed how we're going to celebrate Yetzias Mitzrayim even when Mashiach comes. How is that even possible, right? And we answered that by the end of the Maamar, Baruch Hashem. But it's as if, and I love this example, but it's as if you're celebrating your kindergarten, your preschool, graduation, even though you've already been through your high school, seminary, college, whatever graduation, and it's so much greater. How could you be so excited about it? So, moving on, one of the most powerful and amazing, life-changing aspects of this Maamar is that the Rebbe actually tells it very clearly, and this is our generation we're talking about. The Rebbe explains very clearly that we should serve Hashem without limitations. And he says, what does this mean practically? It's simple terms. What does that mean? It means our service of Hashem should be beyond our intellect. It shouldn't just be just because I understand this, therefore I'm going to do it. Just because I understand how kashering works, therefore I'm going to kasher. Or just because I understand how Pesach works, therefore I'm going to keep Pesach. No, we have to push ourselves to say, even if I don't understand it, everything in Torah has many folds, and not only that, but the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. It's like the ocean. The more you go in, the more you realize it's bigger and bigger and bigger. So don't hold back just because you don't understand something. The Eibusher created it this way, and it's our job to push ourselves beyond that limitation. Not only that, but we should disregard what society gives us, what society tries to feed us. A lot of things in society now are really confusing. Gender identity and what to do with our money, what not to do, whether we should have children or not, whether we should have, society's viewpoint on marriage and divorce. It's wild what's going on out there. And so we have to make sure to disregard the negative aspects of what society feeds us. And we have to make sure to have a pure mind, a pure heilige mind that maintains the godly perspective. In order to do that, we have to be learning Torah constantly. Also, it says that we should disregard the limitations that our body and our soul and our nefesh bahamis hold us back from. So, kind of like I said, I use this as an example, but working out or, training for something in a physical way isn't the most enjoyable. Like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go, make sure that all my muscles are in so much pain I can't move the next day. But we have to realize that sometimes the thing that is not the most pleasant is actually the greatest. So drinking a green smoothie is probably not the tastiest thing in comparison to a nice big cone of ice cream, but pushing ourselves beyond what our nefesh bahamis and our body want usually can be, well, as long as it's in the right direction, of course, but it can be a very good thing, and it can lead us to a lot of growth. And not only that, but even the level of pushing ourselves beyond the limitations of our nefesh elokis. And you're like, what? How can the nefesh elokis be the one holding us back? But in reality, the nefesh elokis could come and say, Michal Weiss, you teaching a maamar shir, what? What do you mean? Somebody else should do this. It's somebody else who's better educated, who knows things better, who's able to explain things better. They should be the ones teaching a maamar shir. And so too with every single one of you, wherever you are, especially for Pesach, it is your personal shlichus to make sure to give this love and this excitement and this maamar, even if you're not giving over the actual maamar, but you're giving over the ideas, the concepts, the living with this maamar aspect. It is your job to be the shlucha wherever you are. So please don't hold yourself back just because you think you're not good enough, you don't know it well enough, you're not well versed in it enough. Our shlichus is now. We need to do our part. So again, the Rebbe said for our generation, let's take a moment and think, what can I do in my life, me right now, what can I do to push myself beyond my limitations? Whether it's our intellect limitations, whether it's our neighbors and the outside world's limitations, whether it's our own body and our animal soul's limitations, or whether it's our nefesh elokis' limitations. Let's push ourselves beyond and let's go. We're bringing Mashiach. We don't have time to wait. Not only that, but the Rebbe explained that if we do this process, even just in affecting ourselves, and it's very interesting. I want to bring about this for a minute about chinuch. My husband and I were just bringing about this on Shabbos. How much some of our kids, different ones at different stages, of course, but how much we've seen their growth over the past few years. And we were talking about it because now it's a lot of not a lot, but we have 2 birthdays in relation to close to Pesach. And so we were just talking about it. And it's amazing to watch how one of our kids, we used to realize that his insecurities were exactly our insecurities. Like for me, I realized there were certain weaknesses and certain insecurities that I had. And the more I worked on it, and I have worked on it a lot because I've been very conscious of it. I want to work on these things. And suddenly we were talking yesterday, we realized 1 second, it has completely gone away for our kids. And we've worked on ourselves without having to actively work on them. And yes, we also, obviously, we do our part in our chinuch with them. But when we have positive self-talk, when we have a good attitude towards things, when we work on ourselves, it literally affects our loved ones, even without us having to do anything with them. And I want to make that very clear, that the Rebbe says it here in the maamar, that once we work on ourselves, it suddenly affects the immediate surrounding. Not because you're actively, and a lot of people, I think there's a bit of a confusion about, let's say miftzayim or something, that like, oh, you have to force everyone around you to do things. Not necessarily. Just by you living a life that is upright and you're doing the right thing for yourself, people see you, people watch you, people appreciate your growth, and people really take that in and say, wow, whether consciously or subconsciously, say, wow, she's doing something right. Maybe I should try to do what she's doing. And it's funny because we instill this in our kids a lot, because as much as we live in Crown Heights, and yeah, Kanti Lashem is a bracha, but kids in schools these days, they do all kinds of things and whatever, even within our own kids. So for example, our kids were having a bit of a hard time, I guess, remembering to bring Negelwasser to their beds. So Sharon was very good, and what he did was he told Shandover, he said, Shandover, you're a shliach. You get to act like such a big boy, and it's so beautiful that you're gonna make an effort to wash Negelwasser. You know, Abba washes Negelwasser, Mommy washes Negelwasser. Like, it's a very good thing, and it's the right thing to do. So Shandover by himself started washing Negelwasser. The next morning, when they came to wake us up, they told us, you know, Mommy, Shandover actually went to Menachem's bed and washed Menachem Negelwasser. And suddenly Levik was like looking and thinking, and over the next few days, suddenly all of them started washing Negelwasser because we told one of them that you're a shliach. So too with each and every one of us. Every one of us is a shliach wherever we are, whether it's with our kids, with our spouses, and again, it doesn't mean shove anything down anyone's throat. It means you have to live a life that you are proud of, and the Rebbe would be proud of, and people will notice, people will see. That's another really practical part. And then we went into this whole beautiful discussion about Shema, the Shema, right? So one of the things I love the most about Chassidus is that it always kind of interconnects. It's not just davening and learning Torah. Usually within Chassidus, there's always a mention about some sort of davening. So we really, really, really got into it when we discussed this concept of saying Shema twice a day. And when we say Shema, not only the basic aspect of the Shema is that we should remember to have Mesiras Nefesh. We should view ourselves as if we're having Mesiras Nefesh for the Eibishter at that point in time. And Baruch Hashem, we don't live in such a world where we actually mamish have to give ourselves our lives up for the oneness of Hashem. But we do have this opportunity to connect and bond to Hashem and say, you know what? I would, if Chas V'Shalom I had to, I would give myself up for the Eibishter, because the Eibishter is everything and true, and there's nothing else but Hashem. And how much more so we can take a moment and realize that we in the pasuk that it says these are three levels, which again we discussed already practically with our intellect, with our emotions. We need to take our emotions and say, Hashem, I love you, and you know what? I also not just love you, I also have respect, I have awe for you. Because Hashem, you are the Hashem, you are everything. And so therefore you can decide my ups, my downs, my everything in my life. And I have respect for that. I respect. It's kind of like when somebody, lahavdil, but like if somebody has to meet the president, there's a certain level of respect that you have. So how much more so the King of Kings, he himself, we have respect, and that is an emotion. And all we have to do is take one moment and say, okay, I need to have love because the Eibishter is amazing. I need to have respect because the Eibishter is the King of Kings. Okay? And try and feel that. Try and give that a little bit of that towards, feeling that. We also discussed this aspect of the Alter Rebbe, which I love the story. That it's as if we're going in, the Alter Rebbe used to say, I do not want anything. I do not want your Gan Eden. I do not want your Ilam Haba. All I want is you yourself. And it's funny because the first time I heard this, this saying of the Alter, I was like, oh wow, that is so high and lofty, and it felt so far away. But in reality, as the Rebbe explains, the fact is that it's said in a maamar to our generation. We can have this type of bond. We can relate to the Eibishter in such a loving and sweet way that we can want, I don't want anything but you, Hashem. We can have that. And yes, now it could be a very small step. Now it's just a matter of thinking about it and saying it to ourselves. But the more we do it, the more it grows. The more this love grows. The more this appreciation for Hashem grows. I once heard, trying to remember who it was. I'm pretty sure it's Rav Zwiebel from Morristown. I'm pretty sure that after he passed away, so one of the Bachrim, or one of the, I guess, students of his, shared one of these teachings that Rav Zwiebel used to say to people. His Bainana starts 1 minute a day, meaning just take 1 minute to think about Hashem. We all hear of these amazing stories of Chassidim of the olden days. They used to spend hours contemplating on the oneness of Hashem, or thinking over their maamar, or all we need to start with is 1 minute. Our generation has, sadly, we have trained ourselves to not be able to focus because we have beeps and bops and boops and WhatsApps and, all these things that just constantly push us. But if we take 1 minute to turn our phone off, or 1 minute to just literally put it away in a separate room, take some sort of godly, anything you learned, a piece of Chassidus, or take a moment to just look at the picture of the Rebbe, or take a moment to think about your davening. Just say, what does this even mean? And read the English on the English side of the davening. 1 minute. If you start with 1 minute, you can start training yourself to think about concepts for longer and longer. Because 1 minute could lead to 2 minutes, and sometimes you could get distracted. It could be 5 minutes, and distracted in a good way, meaning you can focus on what you're doing and forget the fact that you have this timer for 1 minute, and you can train your mind to actually think about Hashem. So this is relevant to all, as the Rebbe clearly puts, that the fact is that the Rebbe is speaking to us in our generation, which means you and I and every single person watching this has this power to connect to Hashem with such a loving relationship. And by doing this, if we put our heads, and this is again living Chassidus, if we daven with such a mindset, if we put our Hashem glasses on, every single thing we do during our day, whether it's taking care of our kids, whether it's working, everybody now is working online, whether it's helping our parents, or whether it's helping, koshering our own kitchens, whatever it is, even if we're not contemplating about the Eibusher, every time I peel a potato, the fact is, when we peel that potato, we're already doing it with the subconscious mindset of the Eibusher. So it's our job, and it's our biggest chus and our biggest achrayus to take every single day, take every moment, and just be conscious about our godliness and our own godliness and the Eibusher's godliness, and really connect to something of kedusha every morning and every night before we go to bed. Take a moment, even if it's just pick one book that you read right before you go to bed, and you're so tired you can barely just turn, not even turn a page. Read one paragraph in the morning and in the night. Make sure, obviously in the middle, when you're capable and you're able to, and if you're peeling potatoes, you can also listen to Hashir. But again, it doesn't mean you don't have to be going crazy with full of like, oh, I have to listen to Shir all day long because, like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about Tanya during that potato peeling. Like, you can live your life as a regular human being, but the fact is that if you do it, if you make a conscious effort to put Hashem glasses in the morning, you make a conscious effort to put Hashem glasses right before you go to bed, so you'll be living even the time in between. It'll be a godly perspective, and you'll be doing godly things. That potato that you peeled is a godly potato that you peeled. Does that make sense? I mean, you guys get, I'll take it as a yes, I hope. So it also reminded us in the maamar, this is right at the end, that the fact is that when we live with this mindset and we push ourselves beyond our restraints, specifically, how much more so with the 3 pillars of the world, right? It says that the world stands on 3 pillars, Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chasadim, right? So Torah means learning Torah, which mazel tov to every single one of you who's joining right now and who's watched or joined at least some of the maamarim shirim, if not all of them. Avodah means working on ourselves through davening, right? Because when we daven, we really, really, especially guys, please, I beg, take a minute to just look at your translation if you don't know what that word means, or even if you do. I did this for a while. I would take 1 paragraph a week. Everything else, I would say, because I have kids and I have to do things and breakfast and whatever. But I take 1 paragraph and I say, okay, I'm going to focus on this paragraph. I'm going to learn what the words mean. So I would read I have a linear translation sitter. I would read the linear translation, make sure I'm understanding the words, and just take that 1 paragraph a week. And you know what? Slowly but surely, I covered a lot of ground. So again, make a point. Even if you're a busy mom and all your kids are, sometimes it's very hard for me to daven with all the kids are running around and doing their thing. So I just say, whether it's Shema and Shema Esrei or whatever, but even at that, just that 1 Shema, make sure I pay attention to that 1 word or 2 words within the Shema that can make me, this is what I'm doing. I'm not just babbling words. Actually, it's today's Tanya. So if you want want more reinforcement on this, you should learn today's Tanya. And also, tzedakah, right? Gemilas chasadim, doing chesed for others. It also means doing actual literal chesed for others. If you know that somebody, I've been telling this to a lot of people, take a moment and call a friend. Everybody right now is in either isolation, literally mamish themselves isolation, or in quarantine and they have their family or whatever. But to whatever extent, take a moment and call someone and say, hey, or even just text them, hey, how are you doing? There's a friend of mine who sends daily message, hi, daily update, how are you doing? And it's very sweet, it's adorable, and I love it, and whatever. So doing a chesed for somebody else, thinking about somebody else, and thinking, how can I help them? And Torah, did I say that one already? Torah, yeah, I said davening. Okay, and Torah, making a point to study Torah, learn Torah. Whether it's halacha, right now is a very, very important time. It's literally a mitzvah to learn the halachas of Pesach. So please, I posted it last night on the group. Take a moment. They're literally some of them, the ones I posted in an hour, but he's just so easy to listen to. But the other playlist that I posted, he does 15-minute classes. Now's the time. Learn exactly how to kosher your kitchen. Learn all the halachas of the Pesach Seder. Learn the halachas of counting sfira, which, by the way, there was a bit of a request to do a sfira transformation again. So we have to, if a few of us can put our heads together and figure out how to do it in this current situation, then yeah, we should encourage each other to know the halachas of counting sfira, know how to count sfira, and encourage each other to actually count sfira this entire time. Last year was a very, very big success. And to finish off, one of the most beautiful parts of the Maamar is the fact that we are doing our part. And when Mashiach comes, or by doing this part, the Eibusher will give us also bli gvul. We push ourselves beyond our limitations, and the Eibusher is going to give us beyond his limitations, because he doesn't have any limitations. So he's removing his self-imposed limitations, and he's going to give us in that way. Somebody shared a beautiful story about Parnasa, how they suddenly got these amazing miracles, and by us pushing ourselves, and it takes and pushing means taking a bit of iskafia, and it's discussed in the Maamar. Iskafia doesn't mean self-torture. It doesn't mean take a brownie. I mean, this I said, but it means take a brownie and then say, oh, I'm not going to eat it. That's called wasting food. Iskafia means to push yourself beyond your limitations. It doesn't feel comfortable, but go, just do it. Do it in a one more way. Be kinder, whether it's kinder to your family members, or whether it's kinder to your kids, even though you're tired and you spent the whole night koshering the oven, whatever it is, but push yourself that today I'm going to do at least one thing better than what I did yesterday. And it's a very famous thing that somebody who wasn't yet from, or didn't necessarily, I guess was from to a certain extent, but wasn't quote unquote cookie cutter the Lubavitcher, came to the Rebbe and said, Rebbe, I wish I could be one of your Chassidim. And the Rebbe answered, anybody who every single day pushes themselves a bit further, I forgot the exact wording, but anyone that pushes themselves, does something better every single day, I am proud to call him a chassid. So again, we may not feel like we're the cookie cutter chassid because, chitas and, sefer mitzvahs and blah, 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 and all these things we're meant to do, and we're not able to do them because Baruch Hashem, we're busy preparing for Yom Tov, and we're busy with our kids or helping our families or whatever it is. You don't have to be a cookie cutter chassid to be a chassid. You just need to push yourself one step closer, one step further, one step closer to Eibusher, further from your limitations. You need to be moving forward every single day to connect to Hashem and to push ourselves. And with that, we shall have the ultimate revelation, which thank you, Rabba. Almost Me'ein Mashiach, Rabba. The ultimate revelation of my delicious. Anyway, actually, it reminds me of a story that. Sorry, I know we went over, but it's Sunday, so give me a few more minutes if you don't mind. But we actually yesterday, my husband bought these. The Frierdiker Rebbe's Sichas translated in English. Yes, the milk, translated in English, and it's so beautiful. And at one point, so yesterday, Sharon was reading it because it just reads so smoothly. So he was reading it to the kids and the whole family during the meal, and we were having such a nice time. And it was so my husband was telling the story, or the Friedrich was telling a story that Tzemach Tzedek brought in. No, the Alter brought in his sons, and he was talking about. Whatever, it's too long to explain, but the bottom line was he talked about a very, very lofty level of Chassidus. You know, what is an Ovid and what is a maskil within the level of Atzilus. And so the Friedrich Rebbe was retelling the story. And at one point, one of the kids, one of the Alter Rebbe's children, got so excited. I mean, he wasn't a kid anymore, he was an adult. But they got so excited, and he was just relishing about this aspect of what does it mean to be an Ovid and a maskil in the level of Atzilus. And there was such excitement that at the time it was a Yitzis Kislev for bringing, and on Yitzis Kislev we eat kasha. So at the time somebody brought in to the Farbrengen and put on the table kasha, and the kasha was so delicious. And so this son of the Alter Rebbe suddenly took the kasha, and the same excitement, because he was so excited about this Zelokos, he was so excited about understanding the Avid and the Maskil in the level of Atzilus. They took the kasha and he really ate it with the same excitement. And the Alter Rebbe noticed, and the Alter Rebbe said to him, I don't remember his name, Avram or Remel or Matel or whatever, Maishi, whatever. Just remember, now you're eating the kasha. Now you're eating the kasha. So we should take this excitement. We should take the excitement of the nefesh of being excited for Hashem and being excited for this love and appreciation for Hashem and our growth in our lives to connect to Hashem in a stronger, more loving way. And we should turn it and use it for our davening. We should turn it and use it for something of elikus. We should turn it and use it for something of helping another yid, turn it and say, wow, how can I turn to somebody else and say, hey, do you want to learn this maamar with me? I just finished this amazing maamar with Living Chassidus, and I want to teach it to you, or I want to learn it with you, or even if you just say, I'm gonna go help my parents kasher their kitchen, or whatever it is, we have to take that excitement and not turn it to the milk. But anyway. So may it be right now, because as we said, we're going to celebrate Yetzias Mitzrayim, even when Mashiach comes. Why is that? Because even in the times of Mashiach, we're going to have this level of appreciation for the skafia that we did when we were in Galus, and we're going to say, wow, so amazing. I had so many Yetzaharas. I had so many things pulling me in all different directions. And at the end of the day, I still did the right thing. At the end of the day, I still turned and I davened and I tried my best. And last night I forbringed, I don't know exactly who was there, who wasn't there, but last night I forbringed about Yud Aleph Nissen. So I want to finish off with this. That right now is a very, very personal time. It's our time for being stuck, whether it's with our families or literally in our apartment by ourselves. And I feel like the Eivester really, really, really is giving us this opportunity to work on ourselves. Most of our lives, especially many of us who are so busy all the time, we're running and not taking a moment to take a breath and say, where am I? The typical ayeka. We always ask ayeka. It's a very famous thing that we discussed during Yitzis Kislev. So now is the time to say ayeka. Where am I? Where am I putting my time? Where do I choose? How do I choose to use my time? Am I using my time for the right things? Am I using my time for the wrong things? How much of my time is wasted in the wrong things, chas v'shalom? And how much of my time am I really, even just with my kids? How much of my time am I holding my phone when I'm talking to my kids? And how much of my time I'm literally just sitting and being with them, being myself with them? Especially now on Shabbos. We don't have guests and we don't have, all these different, the Shabbos afternoon, everybody used to come over. And now my kids really appreciate this time when we just sit and play. Just play. We have no other distractions. We're not trying to say Tehillim at the same time. We're not trying to, talk on the phone at the same time or check our WhatsApp messages. We're just being. So too, now it's the Rebbe's birthday, and and I feel like our hachata for the Rebbe's birthday, and it's hand in hand with our hachata to bring Mashiach. And I really feel it needs to be a very personal relationship. It really needs to be a very personal gift. we're going to take a moment and we're going to say, where am I? And how can I turn closer to the Eibishter? Because that's going to give the Rebbe the biggest nachas. The Rebbe is a shepherd that leads us to Hashem. So if we take a moment and we say, where am I really? What's an achata? What's a weakness? Not weakness. What's something that I need to re-strengthen? That, let's say I'm even too embarrassed to tell anybody else about. It's not one of those things that, like, I walk down Kingston and everybody's checking out my tznius, or I walk down, whatever, and everyone's checking out whether I daven properly or I don't. In my PJs, what am I doing that would be better serving if I did something else during that time, or if I chose to do something else, or that may not necessarily be shared with anybody, but it's a really personal thing that I'm gonna try and work on this, and I hope that through each and every one of us, not just working on the klal, because we're all connecting to each other, we're all doing good things, but also working on the prat. We're working on ourselves and taking achata now as a gift, as a present for the Rebbe, and saying, Rebbe, for you, I want to take on this. And through that, we should reveal and we should bring the ultimate geula, as it says in the Maamar, that I will show you wonders as during the days you left Mitzrayim. So may it be a wondrous and amazing, if leaving Mitzrayim was such a wow that we celebrated every year, so how much more so we're going to leave this gullus and we're going to be in absolute wonders. And so let's live with that already. Let's bring godliness in a revealed way, and let's show Hashem we already know that He's boss. We already know that He's the one in charge, and let's turn to Him with absolute love. Chaim, and now I will Mazel Tov. Mitzvah Hashem, tomorrow we'll begin our next Maamar, and I'm very, very excited. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to turn off the recording, and everyone can share their thoughts if they have.